Jerome Powell spoke in Jackson Hole. We've got gold prices at all-time highs. That's our topic for today. My name's Sepanek. This is Joe Elkjer, and this is the Gold Spot.
This week you mentioned we've got Jerome Powell and the Fed in Jackson Hole. Always gives us some good insight as far as maybe what to expect. He tends to kind of elaborate more on policy and things like that at Jackson Hole. So we get some good information when it comes to it. A lot of talk has been the inflation for a couple of years now. Yep. The Fed is kind of trying to shift, and that was key in Powell's statements. They're leaning more towards unemployment.
Well, my take on it was looking at what Jerome Powell was saying. He really broke down and went into the inflationary rate is still higher than we would like it to be, but we see that it's cooling, and at this point in time, employment is cooling as well, and at a faster pace than they really want to see it cool. So with that being said, now they're going to talk about lowering rates. So if you lower rates, that's going to weaken the dollar. If you weaken the dollar, that means that you're going to see gold prices rise, that type of thing. But gold prices are already rising very quickly. Really, I think what was very interesting, and you and I were talking about this, is he dove into all the different reasons for inflation, and he also went ahead and said, yeah, transitory was a mistake. That theory was wrong. Well, we were highly critical about this the moment they said that on this show. If you've been watching for a while, you probably remember that. We're not talking about the exponential problems that this country really faces. At no point in time did he talk about the fact that our spending is out of control and that's contributing to inflation. He talked about all these different factors, none of which was radical spending and unchecked balances. That was just completely ignored. Now, let's talk about the CARES Act right now. So the CARES Act, we know that we spent around, depending about $4.7, $5.2 trillion, depending on the resources that you're looking at. Upon that number, we know that over $400 billion was stolen or mismanaged. And we don't know where that money went. Now, if you go on the IRS's website right now, they are telling you that, hey, listen, we found $9 billion of that money. And it's only about 360 plus people that they're looking to prosecute right now for that. That's a drop in the bucket when you look at that overall number. But if you hear 9 billion, that sounds like a lot until you find out that the real heist was over $400 billion. When they're talking about these types of things, they're not talking about all the numbers. They're not talking about all the mismanaged spending. And that, I believe, is, I'm going to leave it to you on that one. That is what's truly going to create bigger problems for us coming down the road.
Right. And that's kind of the theme when they get in Jackson Hole and talk about this. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors. And, we've gotten a lot from the Fed for many years now. And now the shift from inflation to unemployment, when for a lot of, many months this year, the illegal immigration was accounting for a big bounce back against the inflation and the reason for the inflation coming down. Now it appears that we're losing jobs to that scenario. And so now it's no longer a good, situation as far as the American public.
And I think that brings a very good point. How in the world is illegal immigration helping inflation? Right. That makes no sense whatsoever. Right. And they always try to say that they're not political. But when you saw Janet Yellen left the Fed, she did anything but stay out of politics. She is 100% engulfed in politics. Now, Jerome Powell doesn't beat the drum quite as hard as she does, nor to say that when he speaks that he's speaking politically, but those types of claims, to me, seem to have a political view to the left. And it's definitely not supportive of right side policies. Right. So let's talk about gold right now. So we know that right now, the debts and deficits. Here's a number that I think I'm going to spitball out at our audience as well. Our debt to GDP ratio right now is over 123%. Since the 1960s, it has never been higher than 56%, ever in history. So we are over double what our debt to GDP ratio really is. No mention of that, by the way, by Jerome Powell whatsoever. Not like it doesn't even exist. So with that being said, we know that gold has hit all-time highs, well above 2,500 now. By the way, we called that. Second of all, where are the buys right now in gold? If somebody wants to get involved, is there any products out there that they can make money in and get a good deal on?
The biggest thing we're seeing right now as far as people coming to the market is privacy. And so when you're looking at privatizing assets, there's, some very good things you can do to, just protect yourself. You mentioned premiums coming down. The investment grade coin market right now gives a lot of great opportunities just because premiums have come down over the last 6 to 8 months as we've seen gold and silver prices climb, really on the backs of central bank buying and governmental buying. So as that continues and we move closer towards more instability, interest rates, whether it's a banking crisis, there's going to be a huge movement back into precious metals that's going to be driving premiums back up again. So right now is a very good time to be looking, especially if you want to be protecting and privatizing assets.
I think that's a good point. And I would like to add to that point when he says people moving back into metals, what he means is the American public getting heated up once again to purchase, because central banks, they're already hot, but they're buying nothing but bullion. And that's going from one shoreline to another in massive amounts.
Central banks have bought more gold in the last year than they have in the previous 5 decades combined.
That is a staggering number, and that is why you're watching the gold prices rise. So if you want to get in front of the rest of the crowd, right now I would say is a great time to do that. I've seen it time and time again after 20 years of doing this. What we see is we can see gold prices move, then all of a sudden premiums start to shrink on products because of the high price of gold. And then after that, like a rubber band, snap back, and then we see those premiums pop, and our audience should be very aware of that. So go ahead and contact us. We'd be happy to tell you more about specific products that you can get involved in.
Buy gold and wait. Don't wait to buy gold.
With that, I think we're going to end right there. Have a happy Labor Day weekend. We'll be gone on Monday as well, but we'll see you back here on the Gold Spot.
Be safe.
If you enjoyed today's Gold Spot, like or subscribe to both our YouTube or our Rumble channels. Also, comment below if you have any questions or if you want to hear us talk about something specific in a future video.